Feed your future self with magic internet money.
And that's the thing is that, so we talked about, I would describe myself as a Bitcoin maximalist. Similar, I guess, to a maximalist. I don't really know what the distinction would be, seeing as I just made that word up.
It's all memes, right?
Yeah, it's all memes. And so for me, Bitcoin is probably the thing that will have the most impact. That does not mean that nothing else can have any. And so a lot of people talk about Bitcoin and how it's kind of the open system that people will use and how intranets don't really do anything and how the internet was actually the really big thing. A lot of companies still have intranets. Like, it's not like they haven't improved processes at companies internally to have communications with each other. And so to say that Bitcoin will be the only thing that has any kind of impact on the world, I think misses the point, which is that when there's a technology that gets created, anybody can do anything with it that they want. And so, yeah, Bitcoin's probably going to be the thing that impacts the most people in the most ways, but that doesn't mean we should discount every single other thing that gets created that isn't necessarily a complete infrastructure built on top of Bitcoin.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a similar take here with Bitcoin maximalish. I define that, I guess, as like, I think Bitcoin is going to win the money use case.
I think so too.
And like global reserve currency status is likely going to go to Bitcoin if a cryptocurrency can achieve that, if it can get up there on par with like gold at 7 trillion market cap or an M2 money of 40 trillion or however big that a global reserve currency can get. If a cryptocurrency can get there, it's probably going to be Bitcoin. And I think that's a good way to describe it. Internet versus intranet. I've never heard it described like that before. It's good to think about it like that, where if you invested in companies that were building intranet software, you probably made some money. So if you're looking at this as like a market to invest in, then yeah, there's going to be value that accrues to other things besides Bitcoin. I think the way that most maximalists and like extremists, I call most people who are calling everything else a scam a Bitcoin extremist, not a maximalist.
Yeah.
And I understand where they're coming from because they're feeling that all of these other coins are going to go to zero or close to it. And it's distracting the world from Bitcoin and it's causing people to lose their money. They're not launched in the real like immaculate conception of fairness that Bitcoin was launched in. And I guess a lot of these guys think that there's something wrong with like making money in other ways than investing in Bitcoin.
Yep.
Like there may be some moral issues there, that they've got moral problems with someone doing an ICO. I struggle with it, honestly, because I don't know the answers and I don't know how to feel. All I know for 100% certainty is that I do not feel comfortable telling my friends and family to invest in altcoins and ICOs. And during the 2017 bubble, I mean, some friends and stuff would want to get into stuff and I would maybe give them my opinions and stuff, but I would always preface it with like, this is extremely high risk. This is a bubble. It's going to pop and you're going to lose your money if you're not careful. Bitcoin is the safest of the risky bets.
Yeah.
And Bitcoin is risky. So yeah, I guess mostimalist and a maximalish are pretty similar in that regard.
Yeah, I feel the same way about in terms of what you feel comfortable recommending to other people. Pretty much if someone says, oh, I'm interested in this, what should I do? I say, okay, well, buy some Bitcoin. And if you want to really get wild, buy a tiny bit of Ethereum. And I say, you will lose all of your money, maybe.
Yeah.
and it's how the conversation goes, at least how I talk to friends and family about it, is I'll ask them the question, what is the amount of money that you are comfortable lighting on fire? And they say, oh, well, probably like, I don't know, like 20 grand, 30 grand. And then I go, so if I took $20,000 out of your bank account, I put it in front of you in bills and I lit it on fire, you'd be totally fine with that. And they go, okay, well, yeah, maybe like 5 grand. And then I'm like, if I took 5 grand out of your bank account and I put it in front of you and I lit it on fire, would you be okay with that? And they're like, okay, no, maybe like $500. And then I'm like, okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to take $500 and then you're going to put that into Bitcoin and you're not going to think about it. And if it goes to zero, you don't lose any sleep. And that's how I try to talk to people about it who don't really understand what's going on. Like personally, I have 100% of my net worth in crypto. Like I don't own anything other than crypto.
There's a DApp. We just dapped it. So you don't even own like AirPods?
I have some other assets. Like I have my Bose headphones.
Okay, your Bose.
Yeah.
Do you got a skateboard?
Yeah, I do have my skateboard. Still,
okay, so you got like 99.2% of your wealth.
Roughly. I have a couch. I have a bed. I own my clothes. I don't rent those.
So just like global warming, you have 97% of all of scientists agree of your wealth in cryptocurrency.
If that's a thing that makes sense, then yeah.
That's an awesome way to look at it, though. I think I'm going to steal that now. I'm going to take them with the visual, because that's a strong visual. Because I do always say that to people, that when we're talking about Bitcoin investing or whatever, I say, like, whatever you feel comfortable losing. And I tell them my story about how I lost a lot of Bitcoin in Mt. Gox and how I got scammed a bunch of times and stuff, and how easy it is to lose coins and wallets and stuff. But I don't think it quite gets through. But that's a good way to visualize it. Picture it being burnt on the table. Do you really feel good with that?
Yeah.
If not, go lower.
And at first they might say yes, and then you go, okay, so I take it out of your bank, and then you kind of see their eye just go like,
little twitch.
I don't, okay, never mind. I'm sorry, I lied. And it's especially talking to older people about that, where they're the kinds of people where if their stock portfolio goes down by 2%, they're on their phone to their broker yelling, what the fuck is going on? Like, where the hell is my money? And then they're saying, yeah, no, I'm comfortable buying Bitcoin. And then you go, do you know that it went down like 80% in a few months? Like, are you aware of what you're about to do?
That's funny.
And so the other funny thing is telling people, yeah, just buy some Bitcoin and just don't touch it. Just see it there and kind of don't lose any sleep over it. And then they go, oh no, but I heard about this other one.
Yeah.
And then you're just thinking, so there's this speculative thing you can buy that might work out, might not. And only a very small subset of people are incredibly excited about it in the world. And they're mostly weird, like so myself. And
maybe 25,000 people.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's bigger than that.
Yeah. And you think that you have to be even more niche and weird than them and find the real thing that is good. It's like, it's already weird enough. Like, Bitcoin is already strange enough.
It's already a high enough risk.
Yes.
Yeah. But the speculation is tempting, and these markets are driven like any other market through history by fear and greed. And greed is like one of the strongest human emotions, and that causes bubbles. And when everybody starts to hear how rich and ridiculously wealthy people are getting off of this weird Bitcoin thing, then that's when the maximalists I can kind of agree with, because that's when, maximalists are proselytizing Bitcoin and educating people about Bitcoin and teaching people about Austrian economics and hard money and like, look at how central banks are doing fractional reserve and inflating the wealth away, and trying to teach people about a new type of money that's deflationary and more Austrian in a way that it's capped and everything. So just doing a lot of education. And then companies like Coinbase will sell Bitcoin to those people who Google how to buy Bitcoin.
Yeah, that was whack.
So like philosophically, I see the point of why maximalists get mad at altcoins and companies like Coinbase and stuff, because they are predatory speculators.
Preying on noobs.
They prey, yeah. They prey on new Bitcoiners. Because when you look at Google search trends, everybody's searching for Bitcoin. Nobody's searching for Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, Ripple. Like, really, when you look at the search trends, it's Bitcoin.
It is. Overwhelming
Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And then when they get their Bitcoin, they go through these rails of exchanges and stuff who are trying to make money on exchange fees and whatever other motivations they have. And so they're convincing these new Bitcoiners to then sell their Bitcoin after we convinced them to hold it forever. We went through the exercise. Like, are you sure you want to burn it? Go lower. So they finally get their Bitcoin after we helped them. We were their Sherpa. They were their Bitcoin Sherpa. And then these exchange bastards come and convince them to sell it because, look, this little shit coin's only $100. Bitcoin is 10,000. This can go to 10,000. Why don't you buy some of this? And then everybody loses their money in the bubble burst.
Personally, I'm not of the camp where Coinbase is the devil or Binance is the devil.
Mt. Gox was the devil.
Mt. Gox was bad, right? They fraudulently took people's money.
Yeah.
And so that is a crime. A corporation doing corporation things should not surprise people. So what I mean by that is Coinbase is a corporation. Mm-hmm. Binance is a corporation. All these exchanges are corporations. As far as I know, there's no non-profit exchange that exists. They have a fiduciary duty to their shareholders.
I think BISC might be one.
Is it?
I think it's a decentralized exchange.
So BISC built a protocol and they just don't take any fees on anything? There's no like on-ramp or off-ramp, like you pay them a little
I think
BISC
it's just
fee or something?
A peer-to-peer exchange. So I don't think they take fees.
Right.
But I don't know 100%.
Their model might be in the future they take fees, or in the future they charge ads, or they mine data or something. I don't know.
It could be.
And so Coinbase, whatever, they have a fiduciary duty to earn a return for their shareholders.
Right.
And so for them to not try to maximize that by allowing you to spend more money on the exchange, that would be the ridiculous thing. If a corporation said, no, we don't want to earn more money. I mean, there are now companies popping up. So like Bull Bitcoin, for example,
Right.
in Canada. And so they have taken the approach of we actually care more about the user and them only being able to acquire Bitcoin than we do profits. And you will lose a lot of investors that way.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how they choose to run their business. So Coinbase choosing to run their business some way, as long as they're not doing anything fraudulent. And I don't think that saying, hey, earn $5 of Zcash by learning how Zcash works, I don't think that's a fraudulent activity. Maybe some people would see it as misleading because it's not a good investment in the world where Bitcoin overtakes everything. But it's not strange for them to do that.
Yeah, you know what? It's something I struggle with, all these narratives on Twitter, and I get pretty vocal about it myself.
You're on Twitter?
I call Coinbase out a lot because you hear people talk about how they're good and stuff, and then I look at them as like a pariah on Bitcoin. Maybe they're good for crypto. They're definitely good for their shareholders, but for Bitcoin, I feel like they're a net negative because Coinbase specifically, if you're looking at this from a free market perspective and a purely capitalist perspective, then yeah, Coinbase can do whatever they want to make more value for their shareholders. And if that's selling altcoins and like promoting other coins that they got at a discount from the coin owner and like creating baskets and taking fees on it and like doing all these things, they're going to do that because they're a VC funded company and their mandate is to increase the value of Coinbase shares for them and their shareholders. And the issue I take with it is that when they're presented as like a Bitcoin company, they're not a Bitcoin company. They're like a VC-funded unicorn that happens to sell altcoins. But they got there because of their usurping of the Bitcoin search term. People search buy Bitcoin. They were there as the number one result, along with other exchanges and stuff that did similar things. They're trying to increase the value of their shares.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that in a purely like market-based system and a capitalist system. That will happen. Philosophically, though, if they're clogging up the Bitcoin network with their inefficient usage of the Bitcoin block space and they're pushing competitive implementations of Bitcoin as Bitcoin, like what was happening with SegWit2x, and they're spearheading this campaign to kind of like destroy Bitcoin in a way and make the altcoins more successful than Bitcoin because they can control the altcoins more than they can control Bitcoin, then they're an adversarial company to Bitcoin, and that's where I kind of draw the line. And still, in both of those scenarios, it's capitalism. That's the market. And if they had succeeded at that, then altcoins wouldn't have got wrecked as bad. So it's just like they and the other companies that were pushing the altcoins and trying to really make Ethereum more successful than Bitcoin, they didn't succeed. So that's also capitalism, and that's also free market. Like what happened was a big bubble happened, and then a lot of these companies, these VC-backed companies, put billions of dollars into tech startups and exchanges and stuff to try to make Ethereum more successful than Bitcoin so they could get returns on Ethereum and on the companies. And they failed.
I would push back on that point and say it's still too early to tell. The fact that the flippening did not occur in 2017 or 2018, I don't think the game is done yet. That's not to say that I personally believe that Ethereum will have let's use the metric, larger market cap than Bitcoin.
Right.
But to say that the winner has been decided 10 years in and then 4 years in for Ethereum, I don't think that's happened.
Yeah.
Like when was the last time you used GopherNet? But GopherNet was like the clear leader in internet. Like everybody was like, oh, GopherNet is the shit.
When was this?
It was in like 1970, 1980,
Okay.
whatever. Like people were
Didn't
like,
use it ever.
that's what I'm saying is people were like, yo, GopherNet, like I'm pretty sure it's the next big thing. And it wasn't. And so AOL, again, was the winner of the internet. AOL onboarded everybody, but then AOL didn't win. And so I think it's still too early to say. My personal net worth is on Bitcoin to be the winner, but to assume that 10 years in, it's game over, I think it's a little bit too early. Maybe in like 20 years, we can feel very confident, but the confidence interval that I have on Bitcoin is like, let's call it 85 to 90%. But like, there's still that uncertainty where we don't know. And to say that the Ethereum market cap did not get bigger than the Bitcoin market cap in the third year of its existence means it is pointless and bad and it will never be useful is, I don't think, a kind of worthwhile argument.
It's a nuanced opinion on both ends of that. Like, there's the maximalists who will just say Ethereum is a scam, Ethereum can't scale, it's never going to succeed and all that stuff. And I'm sure they have reasons why they're saying that other than just, oh, everything but Bitcoin is a scam. But explaining your logic every single time someone's shilling a coin to you, it's hard.
Yep.
It's taxing. So you just end up saying it's a scam, or like it's shit, or it's a shit coin, or like it's not Bitcoin. And that becomes what you say. But I'm sure people have like other reasons why they don't think Ethereum is going to end up being the winner.
Well, Lubin fucked up when he said, yeah, we knew ETH 1.0 wouldn't scale. That was like probably the worst soundbite I've ever heard. Like, I was just like, did you like sit in a room before you went on stage and think of the absolute worst thing you could say, like in the current time? And so that was a big misstep. And maybe Ethereum can't scale, but why can't Ethereum not scale and Bitcoin can? And so I think when you throw enough intelligent people at the problem, there are ways to figure it out. People said the internet wouldn't scale. People have said pretty much every piece of technology won't scale, and then somehow it magically does. And obviously there's people who are way more technically inclined than I am, who understand the technology way better, who do say that Bitcoin has the ability to do so and Ethereum doesn't. And maybe they're right, but I can't really make a judgment call on that.